So I feel called to do this video right now about bullying and about mobbing, and I want to specifically target high schools or in schools in general. Now, most of us who recognize that people can conspire together and form cliques and mob up on someone. Think of workplace mobbing. This is an actual thing. It's happened. People in the past, people who claimed that they were being mobbed up at work were considered to be paranoid and to get mental health because the people at the job were actually out to get them for whatever reason. And this does happen. It does happen. So anyways, now we all know that adults are capable of bullying. I mean, that's obvious. And a lot of the time when we talk about bullying, we think of children or kids on the playground because that's where it happens a lot. Kids do it, but adults also do it. And I want to talk about community mobbing in the school environment and the high school environment. And I want to talk about also within this, we also have new tools available, new technologies, online harassment, community harassment. Not just so much so as like you can block someone and that's fine, you know, if someone's bugging you online, to feel free to block them. But we're talking about this kind of harassment via cell phones, whatever, because I've dealt with it at work and I've talked about that, and a lot of people have when they're being mobbed up. Now, think about this at the high school level. You know this shit is happening there. A lot of the people that were doing this at work, I mean, not all of them, but a lot of them were just out of high school. And there are adults doing this shit too, so I'm not just saying it's because, like, some people just never grow up. They never grow out of whatever. They don't deal with their emotions. They don't deal with their own personal growth. And so they take it out on others, or they have an agenda. They have some kind of agenda to bring someone down. That is also, obviously, a reason why people do this. So anyways, so you get like these little apps, you know, that can like share people's pictures and like, oh, follow this person, keep track of what they're doing, you know, like there's plenty of apps that you can be able to do that now. And it's used as a way to harass people. So there is that element. And another thing too is a lot of people like to pick on people who stay to themselves. They're an easy fall person. I'm not even going to get into that. Maybe in another video, maybe on another platform. But there is that whole idea of someone who stays to themselves is perfect to go down for whatever you want to pin on them. That is true. That happens. Not totally going to get into it on this video. Moving on. So anyways. Also, not everyone, especially at a high school level or earlier, and even obviously a lot of adults aren't really emotionally capable of handling a lot of stress. And so when people mob up on them, they're inducing more stress. Now, a lot of this gang stalking / covert harassment / mobbing has to do with intimidation and fear, and intimidating someone through whatever means. So, in order to get them to do something or to flip out. One reason that they do this is to get either to get someone to flip out, commit suicide, or get them to engage in some kind of crime. And a lot of you might want to think about, like, for women, I guess even like, I guess it doesn't matter so much the sex anymore. You know, you have a lot, as long as like sex is involved, people can be pressured into doing a lot of stuff, even at the young age of high school, of sex, drugs, or whatever. Not only through, you know, that whole idea of peer pressure. What about bullying? What about being intimidated into something? So that happens. Again, like I was talking about my experience and how I felt intimidated and possibly doing something that I didn't want to do. This shit happens. I'm pretty sure it happens in high schools. where people are forced into, not so much forced, but coerced. They are psychologically coerced. They are intimidated. They are passively threatened. This shit happens all the time. Anyone who has followed my other videos and have joined because of that, they know that this is a real thing. And I'm not saying that everything out there that follows follows the pattern of these mobbings, specifically gang stalking mobbing, is, of course, not everyone's doing it, but some people are doing it. And then what they're trying to do, and I'm going to do another video on this, is to hijack your mind, to reprogram your mind, to turn you into, they are trying to turn you into, give you a psychosis, to give you a condition, to give you a mental condition. And the reason I know this is because while some things are not obvious, you know, and it can be discounted, okay, that's coincidental, but that's, some things are obvious. When a manager is licking his lips at you and people are winking at you and then they're like copying you verbatim of what you're doing and like mimic, and it, like obvious shit, not just when it's obvious, and timing and everything. When it's obvious and they know what they're doing and they know you know what they're doing. We're not falling for that shit anymore. This shit's illegal as all hell. And if you don't think, because if I can experience this in the workplace, people experience this in the workplace with higher ups, you don't think teachers are also, you don't think teachers are like bullying students along with other students? You don't think that some of these students might be getting perks to go after a certain student? I'm not saying that's always the case, or even that's the case in majority of situations, but it does happen. I remember when I was young and I was getting bullied, and the teacher just stood there and did nothing. And I was so close to like, I really wish I, like, probably shouldn't have snapped, but I didn't snap. But, you know, thinking about it, like, I was pretty close. People were cutting it pretty close. You know, just standing there, or just sitting there, just kind of watching. You know. And I'm not saying he was in on it, I'm just saying he didn't do much. But then what if I had stood up for myself? Would I have gotten into trouble? Probably. I don't know. However, regardless, I'm not saying that he was part of the bullying. But take that one step further. There are certain teachers that probably don't like certain students. We've all been to school. We all know how this is. And take, for instance, a student that keeps to themselves. Or maybe they're not in the cliques. They're not doing what other people want them to do for whatever reason. And again, talk about, like, especially, I'm not limiting this to young women, but with young women in schools, this could be an issue. Again, I'm not trying to say that this is always happening. I'm saying it's a possibility, and that it sure does probably happen in some situations. You know. So we might want to look at that. What's really going on at some of these schools. What's going on behind closed doors, under the table. You know? I'm pretty much a live and let live person. When it comes to certain activities. But when you try to get someone to do something that they don't want to do through manipulation, coercion, psychological trauma, bullying to the extent of like really inducing a lot of fear, that's messed up. That is illegal. It's coercion. Even if you can't prove it. And that's why they try this, like these techniques, so you can't prove it. But anyways, I just wanted to talk about this because I feel like there's a real need for this. You know, there really is. There's been a need for a while. Same thing with workplace mobbing, which I'll get into in other videos. I really want to focus this channel on really the spiritual healing of trauma, of like that sort of issue. That's going to be a focus. You know, that's going to be one of the main focuses of this channel. Like my other channel is really more aligned to creativity, which I'm still going to cover. And you can use creative therapy for trauma. It works really well. So that's going to be tied in. Obviously, that's going to be tied in. But we need to find tools and ways in order to combat this. Because it's really, really just toxic. Really toxic. You know, especially when you have like people who should definitely know better. I mean, I've met adults in my current situation now that I've met like toddlers with more maturity and kindness in them than what is going on. And it's really sad. It's really sad. But you got people with agendas that don't care about anyone else. There's that other aspect. A lot of people just don't have empathy for other people. And not even saying you have to be an empath and you have to, but just some kind of decency. Some kind of like, to know that doing something to someone is wrong. Also too, and if people are getting fed lines of lies and stuff, and slander, which happens a lot, people need to question this stuff. People need to question, like, whether someone said something about someone, if it was true or not. And even if it was true, should you be provoking a person to some kind of action or some kind of, this is really messed up. This is really evil shit. Like, the level of evil that is involved in this is just disgusting. You know? But we gotta heal from this. I would like to see if I could get a lot of people who are in that environment, high schools and whatnot, how they've been bullied, and if they've been bullied by superiors as well as with other students, and if it was coercive, what kind of like tactics they used, what their end goal seemed to be. I don't know, because sometimes this gets confusing with this sort of thing. And, you know, when it comes to like what some of these manipulators' end game is, like what their goal is. But it's really messed up. It's really sad we live in this sort of, I mean, okay, let's be honest. Humankind has always been messed up. I can't really say, oh, these days. I mean, people have always been really messed up. And always found really horrible ways to torture people. And just are horrible. Because they just, I don't know what's wrong with them. I mean, yes, everyone has capability of having a dark side and everything. But you got to do the work. I want to expand more videos about this subject. I just wanted to talk about it. Just wanted to get it out. Because this is going to be a focus on this channel via multiple platforms. And I'll share those later. But, I mean, we got to talk about bullying in all its forms. You know, and acknowledge that it's not just minors or, you know, children/minors that are doing this. These are adults. And, you know, also young adults too when you're getting into high school. So, I mean, yeah. So, we really, I mean, this is dangerous. Not everyone is capable of handling this sort of bullying. Okay? Not everyone. Some people are. Some people, they get pushed. I mean, we've all been there, especially if we know the covert, like, manipulation stuff and harassment. We know. We've been there. We've been pushed. But you got to find a way to step away. And I feel like spirituality is really, really key. You got to find something to really tap into. Meditation, detachment, all that stuff, really helpful. But calling it out, too, is really important. Because, you know, they're using technology to fuck with you and to bully you and to harass you. You can use technology to call it out. And I know a lot of platforms are trying to like censor what people are saying. And it might even be trying to censor like this kind of information. Like, but people need to hear it. Go on another platform and share it. Because it needs to be shared. It needs to be heard. People can't get away with what they're doing. Because what they're doing is wrong and it's hurting humanity. And sometimes that's the end goal. For some people, some organizations want society to fall. They want people to be pitted against each other. Because that way they're easily conquered, more easily taken control of. You know, you get this whole like police state thing, or you get a violent takeover. You get something that's like someone gains from it. And this is a really dangerous game to play, you know. But anyway, so they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing, and they don't think that there's repercussions, but there are. So please, if this video rings true with you, if you've experienced this anywhere actually, any kind of like schoolyard stuff, high school stuff, workplace stuff, community stuff, all of it. Like, go ahead, feel free to share it, comment, whatever. Anyways, I just want to get this out, something to kind of talk about, and kind of, because I haven't been on here for a little while. But I'm still here. This is a focus of this channel, and it's going to be talked about at length. So this is not the first, I mean, this is not the last video on this subject. So anyways, try to keep it, when you feel pushed, remove yourself from the situation as best you can. And try to keep in your mind that these people are severely sick and twisted individuals. Be prepared to defend yourself if you have to, but don't, and I've learned this, don't be on edge all the time. They want you there, and that's where you're more easily able to snap, and they'll get you where they want you. Don't do that. Take some steps, take some relaxation methods, take some breaths, take a step out, get out of the situation in whatever way you have to. But anyways, so that's all I have to say right now on this subject. There will be more. Until next time, you know, just try to stay in your peace, okay?